Pro players seem to be pretty divided on the importance of cash cups, with some repeatedly saying how bad they are and having the mentality that FNCS is all that matters, whereas others put a huge effort and focus onto performing and improving week to week, using them as an opportunity to earn and improve. The rough translation from Fortnite-ish to English is do good, tweak placement, do bad, tweak cash cups suck. Now, obviously, cash cups aren't only for the top pros or for the players who can squeeze some earnings out of them. Anyone in Champions League in Arena is eligible to enter. For this level of player, and I'm this level of player, I think cash cup format isn't perfect, but it definitely does the job. It's placement heavy and not super reliant on getting a ton of eliminations to progress in the leaderboards, so in terms of points, a victory royale is worth, in a solo cash cup, 30 eliminations, and in the duo cash cup, it's worth 25 points, which is 25 eliminations. This means that if you're a worse fighter, then you can big brain your way to a better placement, but it also makes games more stacked, meaning you can't just be awful and place top 50 overall on the leaderboards. Like, you're not going to see me in the top 50 of a cash cup leaderboard, and that shows at least the format is doing something right. This format does discourage W keying, but we've all seen the players who'll just take fights regardless and waste both people's games. Well, that's the end of my cash cup. But the lower amount of W keying overall creates higher quality games at most elo levels, so at least the average players have a chance at playing some higher quality early, mid and end games in a real tournament setting. Now in Chapter 3, all the solo and duo cash cups have 2 corresponding height cups for the Opens and Contenders League players to increase overall participation in tournaments, which honestly is just a great idea to get more people involved and interested in competing. Not everyone's going to be able to make it to the later stages of the FNCS to play some of the more stacked games, so for some of the more average competitive players, cash cups give you an opportunity to compete in higher quality games in a real tournament setting, improve your placements, and even have a shot at getting earnings. So what about the pros? As an analyst, I try to build up as many storylines as possible, and do cash cups fit into that in any meaningful way? Well, the first question you have to ask is, do you really remember any cash cup placements of the pros across the last few years? Are there any that really stick out to you? I'm sure I'm missing some, but some that come to mind immediately were Benji Fishy and Unknown Army's solo cash cup dominance in Chapter 2 Season 1. In Chapter 2 Season 5, there was Hen, Janice, and Chapix from the Trio Cash Cup, where in the 4 Cash Cups that they placed 2nd, 1st, and 5th, and then won the FNCS that season. And the last one that comes to mind is Kemiseti Teak in Season 7, where if you exclude the 1 Cash Cup where they had internet issues, the average placement was 3.7 across 7 tournaments with 1 win as well. So a huge performance. But what were the takeaways from these instances? Did they really matter? Benji did go on to have a great few seasons, including coming 2nd in the FNCS squads in that Chapter 2 Season 1. Unknown went on to win Chapter 2 Season 1 squad FNCS. Hen, Janice, Chapix, like I said, won the FNCS that season, and Kamisei Teak went on to place 4th in the FNCS finals that season, where they had all these great performances, and then went on to win the next season, which was Season 8, and then placed 2nd in Grand Royale finals. Now, I'm not saying there's a direct correlation between teams doing well in cash cups and then going on to perform highly in the FNCS finals, because there are a lot of teams who can just fight their way to good cash cup placement, but most of the best teams in the world who place well in the FNCS finals do take cash cups seriously and perform well in them. But what do cash cups offer the top tier players that they don't get in scrims? Well, variety in a real tournament setting. The participants aren't limited to just people within the pros' usual scrim server or invite list for third-party tournaments. There really are teams of every caliber and playstyle that they'll come across. Your drop spot may be uncontested, where you can practice your usual efficient looting path and speed, or the next game it may be triple contested. You have to adapt on the fly to deal with the circumstances that you're given in each individual game. Mid-game fights are a great example of this, since most scrim servers highly discourage you or even ban you for taking unnecessary mid-game fights, which is 100% the right thing to do to create stacked games in practice, but this is still a massive part of a lot of aggressive team strategy that needs to be worked on. Need some practice holding height? Well, if there's 10 teams all looking to take it in one game, you'll certainly gain a better understanding of how to hold it. There's also a lot of pressure to perform if you're high on the leaderboards. Maybe not so much if you're the FNCS champions of a previous season, but having the potential to place in the money or even winning the cash cup can be nerve-wracking. There are situations that players must put themselves through to adapt to this feeling. If it's the first time you've had a shot at doing well in the tournament and it's an FNCS finals or even a World Cup finals, imagine, you've undoubtedly been much more nervous than the rest of everyone in the lobby who's been through this hundreds of times in cash cups, in other tournaments like FNCS as well. If you're an Opens level player all the way up to the FNCS champion and you really want to improve, you should be using cash cups as a test of your skill and a learning experience. And yes, that includes solo cash cups. For the lower tier players, I'd recommend more focusing on solo hype and cash cups, and for the more competitive you become, you switch that focus over onto the trio cash cup. But developing yourself as a solo player is absolutely critical for your ability to hold your own weight, and it's no real surprise that the most consistent solo players are also some of the best players in the game. Out of the 8 solo cash cups last season, 2 of them were won by Antlex and 2 of them were won by Noah Rayleigh. Then you see players like Tayson, who won both the solo FNCS and the All-Star Solo Showdown and is considered the GOAT of Fortnite. Clearly he's an okay solo player. If you can make an FNCS finals, but you can't place top 1000 in a solo cash cup, I'm not saying you're getting carried, but this is often a red flag that a player is falling behind the skill gap. Maybe you just have the worst solo mentality and you don't care at all. Well, there's a weakness that you need to work on and improve. Imagine this year there's another All-Star Solo Showdown or even a World Cup solos announced, and there's like 1 or 2 months that you have to prep for it, and you've only had 1 month of solo practice from last year's solo All-Star. You will be so far behind some of these other guys who have been consistently performing in every solo event, big or small. Every player should be focusing on not only improving their team, but they should also focus on becoming proficient solo players, as long as it doesn't take away from the time spent improving your team. So here's my recommendation for every skill level of player. Take all cash cups seriously, and if you're not a champs player yet, do the exact same thing but with the respective hype nights. Take note of the points you get every single week and simply work on improving these and fixing the small mistakes you make, trying to improve on say 1 or 2 mistakes per week. Many players get caught up in making their goals too high. They place top 4,000th and are focused on getting their next earnings that only the top 55 in Europe will get. First, focus on getting that average placement up to 3,000, then 2,000. Slowly but surely, look to improve week to week, season to season. Sometimes you'll have a horrible tournament, it happens and it won't seem like you're improving, but as long as the average is an upward trajectory across the entire season, you're improving and that's all that matters. After a few seasons of slow and steady improvements, you will be shocked at what you can achieve. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot. Peace.